ibang pieces of legislation naman, yes, umaasa pa rin kami. Do you know that under the family code, there are 11 articles that actually give priority to the husband? Lagi yung asawang lalaki ang merong final say. Property issues, you want to sell a house? Payag na yung buong pamilya. Dahil kailangan to ng pamilya, yung pera. Pero pag sinabi ng husband, ayoko, siya pa rin naman susunod. Or I don't know, family decisions, magpapakasal ng anak mo 21 anyos, no? Tapos payag na yung familia, siguro nagdadalang tao na. Pero pag sinabi ng padre, ng father, ayaw. So, there's something intrinsically unfair about these 11 articles in the family code. And for the longest time, kami po sa Committee on Women and Gender Equality, unanimously, lahat ng kababaihan sa House of Representatives, we want this changed. Kasi this is a remnant, a vestige of the old regime na always gives men priority over women. Akala mo naman lahat na lalaki matino. What we're asking for is just equal standing sa loob ng pamilya. So pinupush namin ito. Sana mapakinggan tayo ng Rules Committee. Nag-sponsorship speech. We have 6 working days left. Kaya pang ipasa ito sa period of interpellation and third reading para pagdating ng 20th Congress, hindi na niya kailangan magdaan pa sa komite. Sayang naman to eh. Yung SOGIC Equality Bill, medyo nahihirapan tayo dyan. But something as fundamental as yung family code, even if we ask and survey the women here, palagay nyo, diba, tama lang naman na baguhin natin yung family code. Also, yung amendments to the Safe Spaces Act. If you remember, we wanted to hold public officials, whether appointed or elected, accountable. Kasi ang unang dapat nagsiset ng magandang halimbawa ay tayong mga public officials. Hindi naman po pwede, we require the citizenry to behave in a certain manner, pero tayong public officials exempted. I mean, that's too much. Siyempre, ayaw natin ng mga leader ng mga bastos. Ayaw natin ng mga leader na nagmumura. Ayaw natin ng mga misogynistic remarks coming from our public servants. So yun ang iniintay ko. And kami mga kababaihan dito sa House of Representatives, we're asking, what is holding us back? It's just period of interpellation. Let's talk about it. Kung may kumukontra, I'm sure we can discuss in an intelligent manner. So, yun ang inaasahan namin with the 6 days. I know, maaring suntok sa buwan, pero hindi. May glimmer of hope pa rin. If there's a will, there's a way.
I'm sorry, just last. Ano pong specific House Bill yung para sa amendments ng Family Code?
Amendments in the Family Code, it's called the Fundamental Equality for men and women under the family code. I don't know yung exact number, and then we'll provide you later. And then yung sa amendment to the Safe Spaces Act, nandiyan din. Also the amendments to the EVAUC. Usong-uso ngayon, pinag-uusapan natin yung fake news. So do you know that most of the victims of online scams, fake news, slut shaming are women and minors? So that has to be reflected in our anti-VAUC laws. So tanong, why can't we approve it here in the lower house? I have always known the House of Representatives under the leadership of Speaker Martin Romualdez to be a progressive one. Nakaya nga natin yung divorce eh. Diba dapat nga patunayan natin, we're not just a bunch of dinosaurs clinging on to the old ancient regime of patriarchy. Mga advanced thinkers tayo, di ba, Kong Pao? Talaga ba, ha? You believe? So, naniniwala ako kay Kong Paolo. Ha? And yun ang aking prayer, yun ang aking hope.
Thank you, Gab. Next, Mela Lismoras from PTV4.
Hi, good morning, Kongs. Follow up lang po dun sa kay Gab kasi nalatag nga ni Kong Geraldine yung mga gusto pa nating isulong. Balikan lang po natin yung achievements bukod sa divorce. Ano po yung mga naging achievements ng 19th Congress when it comes to women empowerment po?
Well, we also tried to approve a bill that will encourage women to be in positions of power. Pansinin nyo, pag meron kang women leader, there is normally peace in that area, in that zone, in that territory. You know what? I don't know if you agree with me, Kong Paolo. ang mga babae, lalo na mga nanay, may hugot eh. Ayaw nila ng conflict. Gusto nila peace, katahimikan, for progress, for their children. So, we want to encourage more women participating in politics through an incentive program, no? We would require political parties to have at least 40% of their list to include women. And I know it may sound na parang it goes against the spirit of meritocracy. Dapat pagalingan lang yan. But we have to face the fact na hindi level, hindi patas ang playing ground. So somehow, you have to give parang, tawag dito, positive affirmation. That system, when you give a quota, affirmative action, no? Para medyo level and playing field. Tapos when you reach your goal already, maybe we can do away with that law. We can repeal that law already. So that's one. Another is also, we came out with a manual and we distributed it among members of the House, how to be a gender-responsive legislator. Alam nyo, meron din kaming panukalang batas. In times of natural calamities, crises, like yung nakaraang COVID pandemic, the protocols were male-centered eh. Binababa ang mga ayuda sa mga padre de familia. And in my experience, pasintabi lang po sa mga kalalakihan. Hindi po yung pera na yun napunta necessarily doon sa dapat puntahan niya, like pagkain. Pero kung dinaan natin yan sa mga kababaihan, because the fact of the matter is that calamities, whether natural or man-made, disasters affect men and women differently. So we have to have gender-responsive legislation. And that is what we approved also in the committee. But then again, we're waiting, for it to be discussed on the floor. Ano pa ba ang mga napasa natin? The Secretariat of the House came up with this manual, gender fair language. Di ba ayaw nga natin yung using the term bakla and equate it with being a coward or duwag. Recently, Kong Pao, alam nyo din sa committee ng yung TRICOM natin, no? Where we're investigating yung use ng fake news. Nabash ako kasi with all due respect to my colleague, Kong Ace Barbers, talaga naman sobrang personal yung banat sa kanya, isang vlogger. Napaka below the belt, pati familia, no? So sa galit niya na he blurted out, yun na nga, the word bakla. And I call this attention, no? And protocol would have it within the House that after the committee hearing, I had this one-on-one discussion with Kong Ace Barbers. He apologized and he fully realized what he did and that he did not mean it. Some bashers might say, bakit naman kinall out mo si VP Sara? Well, there's a big difference. VP Sara is a known LGBT rights advocate, and I have to give it to her, which means that she has more responsibility and more knowledge. And that, cannot be used as an excuse for using the term bakla to demean people or to refer to mean duwag or cowardly, no? So, si Kong Ace Barbers naman, hindi naman siya declared na LGBT rights advocate, although I know in his district, mahal na mahal siya ng LGBT community. So, yun po ang naging diferensya. I was bashed for that, but I have a perfectly logical explanation. Ganun talaga kami sa house. Pag meron kami may issues, we discuss it among ourselves first. And then, apologies are said, and ayos na lahat.
Opo. Speaking of fake news lang din, isa rin to sa mga tinututukan ng TRICOM nga and even ni Kong Pao. Meron lang isang vlog po si President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. nitong weekend at nagbababala siya sa mga tao against fake news. May sinabi siya, kakambal na rin ng kampanya ang mga intriga at batuhang putik na tinatawag na fake news. Kaliwat kanan na rin yan. Sabi nga natin, ang bagong Pilipino ay marunong kumilatis sa tama tama at maling impormasyon. Kaya ngayon, laganap na naman ng fake news at disinformation. Dapat extra ingat po tayo sa mga nababasa natin online. Ano pong masasabi niyo po rito? Given na yun nga tuloy-tuloy din yung mga pagdinig dito sa Kamara about fake news.
Before ako mag-react doon, no, gusto ko lang dagdagan yung statement ni Kong Geraldine. Kasi nakita natin sa 19th Congress na actually hindi nga spotlight lang eh. Naging highlight po ang kababaihan sa 19th Congress. With the likes of Kong Geraldine, sila Kong Jinky, sila Kong Migs Nograles, sila Kong Pami, sila Kong Mika, yung mga bagong young guns na nandyan. Kung titignan mo yung not only with their the way they interpolate, the way they handle the media, yung mga sound bites nila, and the number of minutes that they have been in the spotlight, talagang binigyan nila ng kaukulang boses yung kababaihan. Kumbaga sila nga yung sikat na sikat during the 19th Congress eh. Mas malayong masasabi ko na talagang sila yung bida sa 19th Congress. Not only with the majority but also with the minority. Alam naman po natin. And to answer your question, matagal na pong ginagawa ng Pangulong Bongbong Marcos yan. Even when he was campaigning for Vice President, pati nung tumatakbo siyang presidente hanggang ngayon, talagang sa mga vlogs niya may mga fact-checking siya na ginagawa. Halos every 2 days siya nagvo-vlog dati. May fact-checking na pong ganyan. And yun nga, very clear po yung stand natin kasi we are all potential victims of fake news, not only as politicians, public servants. Si Kong Geraldine, I'm sure meron din yan. Ako, ang dami. Pero ang maganda po is aware naman po yung tao talaga eh. Minsan gusto lang ng tao na may nakikita, gusto lang may tao na napapanood. Pero alam po nila mag-discern kung ano po yung fake news saka yung katotohanan. So again, on the side of sa katotohanan, kailangan po mas maging mapanuri po tayo sa mga nakikita natin online. Nandun naman po karamihan ng fake news eh. Kasi sa ground, hindi fake news ang tawag doon, chismis. So maraming forms po ang fake news. Kailangan lang po talaga tignan nating maigi and i-continue yung kampanya na to. I think the campaign should also start in the grassroots level, kahit na mga bata pa, kasi kahit grade school level, kahit sa school level, sa government, sa offices, it should start there already as early as siguro grassroots, grade school level, kasi nagiging nagiging issue, nagkakaroon ng issues of mental health, bullying, yung mga ganyan. And no one is safe from fake news. Lahat tayo ay magiging potential victim yan. Yun lang po.
May I add, fake news doesn't only affect us politicians. Baka kalain nyo kami lang ang umaangal o nabibiktima ng fake news. It affects all Filipinos. Women, especially mga minors, the youth, the future generation. Isipin nyo yung proseso na pinagdadaanan ng fake news. It is created, we call it malinformation, with a malicious intent to distort reality, to distort the truth. If you raise a generation that believes a lie, a falsehood, how can you create a stable future for our country? So, importante dito ang critical thinking. Si President Bongbong Marcos is a padre de familia. I'm sure, of course, his children are grown up. I guess he must have taught them already, Kong Sandro, to practice critical thinking, maging mapanuri. So dito po sa TRICOM, we're investigating, and I've listened, and actually I'm participating in the committee hearings. We listen to the different stakeholders, from advertisers to journalists to vloggers to people who handle PR and political strategy, and we gain a lot from their experience. Kaya nga lang kulang kasi yung ibang vloggers na imbitahan namin sa TRICOM ay hindi po nagsisidalo. Parang medyo napraning, Kong Paolo, na pinangunahan nila ang pakay ng komite. Ang pakay ng komite is to listen kung ano ba talaga ang problema and to find solutions. In fact, in the last TRICOM committee, I came up with a legislative measure, which is the creation of a digital council of the Philippines. Kong Pao, I'm a journalist myself. Ayoko ng binobosalan ako. Ayoko ng censorship. Ayoko ng government control. Kaya ang aking minungkahi sa nakaraang komite is the creation of a council among peers. Imagine this council. Meron tayong association and groups of content creators. Siyempre, may registry dyan, yung matitino. Meron tayong mga digital advertisers. Meron tayong mga PR firms. Lahat ng stakeholders, of course, dapat may representation ng DICT. Meron din NBI kasi kailangan may konting ngipin, ano? Meron tayong representatives from the different social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, X, what have you. And then this group will come up with their own code of ethics and standards that has to be followed. Ito rin ang magiging tampulan ng mga magrereklamo na nabibiktima ng fake news. Tapos, they will fact check. Do they have the technical means? Yes, I've interviewed journalists and content creators and AI groups nga pa rin kasama dyan sa council na yan. They have the technical means to find out within 48 hours if a piece of content is true or false. Now, ano gagawin natin once found to be false or ifa-flag ngayon ito? And by law, we will require the social media platforms to flag these pieces of news or content as fake. Para at least alam ng taong bayan. Nakikita nyo minsan dun sa FB, merong parang annotation, ito ay hindi makatotohanan o kulang, hindi balansadong piece of information. So, the key is self-regulation. Because alam niyo yan, bilang media practitioners, the right to freedom of expression is sacred. It is something constitutional. So when we legislate, we always try to find the least restrictive means para wala tayong conflict. Dahil syempre, naniniwala tayo na pag merong kodigo, code of standards, code of ethics, nasusundan, binibigyan ng konting ipin ng isang grupo na hindi naman government controlled, ay maging effective yung pamamaraan nito para labanan ang fake news. So, yan po ay inihain ko sa nakaraang committee hearing. Pero patuloy pa rin kami. We want a more complete picture. Sana yung ibang kumbidado na mag-attend sa aming committee will set aside their, I don't know what to call it, paranoia, and join our committee para mapakinggan sila.
Maganda kasi yung tinatakbo nung TRICOM kasi nga sabi ko anong statement ko before na nung nabigay sa kapangyarihan nitong sa mga tao tong social media, para kang meron kang something na so powerful na pero nung nagawa ito, parang wala siyang code of ethics nga talaga. Unlike na pag hindi mo naman sasabihin ng harap-harapan yung mga masasama saka irresponsableng sinasabi nyo o kaya fake news. Pero karamihan naman po nga, trolls sila o kaya mga hired mercenaries. Kaya nga nakakalungkot nga po kasi itong mga taong to employment din ang hinahabol nila Kailangan nila ng pera, kailangan nila ng trabaho, pero they're doing it in such a way na napaka-irresponsible na it's getting out of hand. Not only towards politicians, public servants. Ginagamit din po to halimbawa, may kaaway yung isang estudyante. I-fake news siya, ibubully siya, cyberbullying, itotroll siya ng mga kaaway niya to the point na ayaw nang pumasok ng bata. So talagang socio-cultural po yung problema natin na to hindi lang po sa politika. Kaya nga nakakalungkot na ganito na po yung napuntahan. Tapos parang ang saya-saya pa ng mga ganitong tao sa ginagawa nila. Kaya sobrang nakakalungkot na it's not the real, hindi yung totoong sarili nila yung pinapakita nila dito Kumbaga nakamaskara kasi sila sa social media. So kayong yung mga trolls, yung mga masasamang intention, mga fake news kayo. Fake you.
Yun na nga tama si Kong Paolo. It is precisely ang kakulangan ng mga patakaran na sinasamantala nitong mga trolls. So, sinasamantala nila yung anonymity para sabihin kung ano yung gusto nilang sabihin. And usually, binabayaran sila. They're paid to say things that are false and unfair. They target, hindi lang kami mga politiko, businessmen. Di ba hindi nakikita? Minsan si Doc Willie Ong, bigla na lang through AI, nagbebenta siya kung ano-anong mga products. Si Doc Alvin, halatang-halatang nagpa-follow ako ng mga reels, no? Pati rin si Dr. Vicky Bello, kahit hindi niya produkto binibenta. So, there are economic repercussions. Also, maapektado rin, sabi ko nga, yung mga kabataan, ano? So, yun ang gusto namin sa TRICOM. Maghanap ng patakaran. And hopefully, it will come from the practitioners themselves, the stakeholders themselves. Doon tayo papasok with the registry of content creators. Pag may registry ka, kung meron kang several accounts, i-register mo yan. Pangatawanan mo. Bigyan mo ng pangalan. O kahit meron kang nom de plume o yung pseudonym, dapat registered. Para hindi naman yung Diyos ko Lord, parang wild west ang ating social media. You know, malungkot Kong Paolo, ang ganda-ganda sana ng purpose ng social media. Marami natutulungan, it links people. Nagiging venue pa ito para maiparating sa aming mga public servants ang pangangailangan ng taong bayan, mga reklamo which are valid. Pero dapat, kung magre-reklamo ka, yung fair naman. Backed by facts, may supporting evidence, at hindi naman irresponsible, no? So, ito po ang pakay namin, magkaroon tayo ng mga patakaran.
Dagdagan ko lang, maikli na lang. Parang sabi ko nga before nung may caucus sa mga members ng TRICOM na it's the same thing with the SIM Registration Act. Siguro kailangan meron na rin tayong social media registration para maiwasan natin yung mga ganito. Pero syempre pag-aaralan naman po yan. We are treading a very thin line. Kailangan po ng consultations lalo with stakeholders kung paano po natin i-handle to kasi it's getting bigger and bigger na parang nagiging ano na po siya nagiging ang tawag dito, nagiging sakit na po. Nagiging sakit, nagiging salot na. So, di ba, it's better to be real, it's better to be genuine, it's better to be you rather than the fake you. So,
Ako lang po.
Ako lang to, yeah. Tama, di ba?
And sorry, last na po. Hingan ko na lang din po yung reaction nyo dun sa may statement kasi si Kong J. Kong Hoon, one of the young guns din, na dapat daw hindi tahimik ang mga senatorial candidates tungkol sa issue ng Chinese espionage, lalo na't may mga nahuling Chinese spies na nitong nakaraan. Ano pong masasabi nyo rito? Do you agree with him po?
Kakatakot, ano? Just the thought of it. Meron pa sila mga equipment na ginagamit. What's new? Alam naman natin, matagal nangyayari ito. Pati nga sa social media Alam mo, mayroon mga groups and trolls na controlled by that country to target certain politicians. Ano, sila na magpapatakbo ng ating politika sa Pilipinas? I agree with him. I agree with Kong J na dapat we should address this problem. It's a matter of national security. Really, and habang buhay na lang tayong tatahimik, magpipikit-pikitan sa ginagawang paglapastangan ng ating territorial integrity, pati yung ating sovereignty. It's about time. Expose natin sila para mag-iingat na rin ang ating mga kababayan. Nananawagan ako sa ating mga kababayan. If you perceive something, please report sa kapulisan. Yung mga equipment na nakakabit na for espionage, you can feel it Baka nga yung ating mga cellphone dyan, na. You never know, right? So, hindi dahil sa pagiging praning or paranoid. When it comes to national security, it's better to be overly cautious rather than magkulang tayo sa pag-iingat.
Syempre, we support the Honorable Congressman Jay, no? Kasi tayo po, nagpunta tayo dun sa heart ng concern nila kasi pumunta tayo sa Zambales, 'di ba? Nagpunta tayo dun sa anong town na yon yung pinuntahan? Sa Masinloc. Oo, dun sa mismong town. Nandun yung concern talaga, pero hindi natin may iwasan. Parang ako, a few months ago, may dumaan din sa distrito ko. Huminto pa nga siya sa isang town, pero hindi naman ganun kalapit sa shore. Pero yun nga ang point ko, the local governments also must gumawa po ng polisiya or palakasin nila. Kapitbahay nyo halos sila Jay. So yung local government kailangan pong tulong diyan kahit po mula barangay level lang na yung pag-ikot po ng Coast Guard para ano po sila sa ating mga Navy. Kailangan po may coordination na talaga yung local government with the local officials, pati po yung mga national officials para po kahit na alam po natin na wala naman pong may gusto ng kahit na anong confrontation, pero ang gusto natin, nagbabantay tayo, saka aware po yung mga tao sa ginagawa nila na pambubuli, ika nga.
Thank you, Mela. Next up, Lines Capanti from GMA Online.
Sir, good afternoon and ma'am. Follow up lang po ako yung sa bridge sa Isabela. I'm sure you're aware how procurement process works for infrastructure projects. There are quarters blaming the current administration kasi bago pa lang. Others were saying na previous administration. Others are also saying parang unfair naman to put the blame on the flagman, yung nagpadaan ng malaking yung mabigat yung ng truck. So being aware of how infrastructure projects are procured, anong sa tingin niyo sir naging problema? How can we improve it moving forward?
Well, unang-una dapat mag-conduct na talaga ng investigation. Kailangan swift yung investigation dyan para makita talaga kung ano yung problema. Mahirap naman po mag-pass ng judge. Hindi ako engineer Pero syempre makikita mo bakit halos kabago-bago lang nitong bridge na to nag-collapse. So, I think the President has ordered the swift investigation po at makita po yung kung ano nangyari kung anong problema nagkaroon. Pero syempre, hindi po katanggap-tanggap na magkaroon tayo ng mga ganitong problema kasi tulay yan. Hindi po, kung daan lang o speed bump, medyo okay lang parang dadaanan mo lang. Pero ito, medyo maraming buhay po ang tatamaan kung sakaling full po yung tulay na yan. So, antayin po siguro natin yung investigasyon, then makikita po natin kung sino ang dapat managot sa nakitang problema na yan.
I think the DPWH has a protocol to follow. So, due process tayo, dapat merong investigation. Ngayon, kung may pagdududo kahit independent body ng investigation, something parallel, just a suggestion. But whatever it is, from our place here in Congress, and maybe kayo sa 20th Congress, you can come up with a law that will require certain standards. Ang pangarap ko sana sa ating bansa is infrastructure that will last. Hindi yung paulit-ulit na lang ginagawa yung daan o yung highway or avenue, no? Ang pangarap ko is like in other countries, especially in developed countries, pag nag-build sila ng highway, ang gaganda, matitibay. Alam mo, nagugulat nga ako, Kong Pao. You're young, no? But do you know that the NLX was built during the Marcos administration? Ang tagal-tagal na yan. Yan ang kalidad. Just like, for example, the different buildings we have, like the Philippine Heart Center, NKTI, Lung Center. Yan ang maganda. Even the CCP, Cultural Center of the Philippines. So, maybe we should put it down in writing sa pamamagitan ng isang batas. Standards, no? A set of standards to be followed uniformly in our country so that itong ating pangarap ay matupad. Building to last.
Yung second question ko po, another topic, siguro more from Congresswoman Roman. Yung sa SOGI po, kasi you have been here, I think, 3 terms. Ano po ba yung parang biggest obstacle why, we can't get over the hump dito sa SOGI? Kasi yung divorce, I understand napapasa siya sa house level, even in previous congresses, pero itong SOGI po, parang hindi pa niya nare-reach yung ganong level.
Excuse me. Yung sa divorce kasi, I guess mas maraming tao namumulat sa katotohanan, no? Na we can't pretend that everything is la-la land, na lahat ng relasyon ay successful, and padami to actually. So they want a legal way out of these toxic relationships. Divorce is not for everybody, right? But when it comes to the SOGI-SC bill, ang akala ng marami, ito ay para lang sa isang marginalized group, minority, which is the LGBTQ plus community. Maaring ito ang dahilan kung bakit hindi siya nabibigyan ng kahalagahan, no? Karampatang kahalagahan. But the truth of the matter is that the SOGI-SC Equality Bill will benefit all. Kung ikaw ay isang straight guy and you're applying for a job, and then you are discriminated against kahit na qualified ka dahil pinagkamalang kang gay or bakla, you can use the SOGI-SC Equality Bill. But then again, how many cases like that happen in our country when it's the other way around? Normally, ang LGBT ang na-discriminate precisely because LGBT siya. Now, dito sa lower house, sa House of Representatives, confident naman ako na marami ang supportive dito. Ito nga lang 19th Congress, hindi siya nabigyan ng panahon sa plenaryo. We stopped at the sponsorship speech, which begs the question, what is stopping us from continuing into the period of interpellation? Like we did in the 17th Congress, we passed it unanimously. And I think the reason why most congressmen and congresswomen support the SOGI-SC Equality Bill is because, tama ba ako, Kong Paolo? In your district, meron mga organized na LGBT groups. Correct. And we are more in touch dun sa day-to-day lives ng aming mga constituents. Hindi kami manhid sa pangangailangan ng iba't ibang sektor ng aming mga constituencies. Farmers, women, LGBT, youth, senior citizens, PWDs, and we try to legislate things that will benefit them or take them out from their marginalized situation. The problem, what's new, is that our friends, some friends in the Senate, simply do not want to hear of the SOGI-SC Equality Bill. If you recall, it was passed in the Committee on Women and Family Relations, led by Senator Risa Ontiveros. But it was hijacked, Instead of being discussed at the plenary, it was, what is the term again? It was sent back to remanded to the Committee on Rules. When, for the longest time, the SOGI-SC Equality Bill has always been heard in Committee on Women and Family Relations. For what reason? I don't know, strategic maneuverings perhaps? And they promised, no, we will discuss it soonest. Ang tagal na ng soonest na yan. Siguro dapat sinulat natin forthwith, no? Dapat, sa bagay, ang forthwith definition is questionable dun sa kanila. Pero sa akin malinaw, ako nag-google ako pa ulit-ulit. Merriam-Webster, Google, lahat na ng dictionary ko, nasulat ako immediately. Tapos isip ko, I'm a journalist. I'm not a constitutionalist. But I do understand this much, that when you write a constitution, you do not use, vulgar. By vulgar, I mean common terms. Day-to-day language, like immediately or ASAP. We use literary terms, like forthwith, but it's the same banana. Forthwith equals immediately.
Thank you, Lenesca. Now we turn to Marian Enriquez from TV5.
Speaking of impeachment po, baka Sir Kong Paolo Ortega, I understand that you also attend some meetings po with the prosecutors and maybe the communications team last week. Meron din po ba kayong meeting this week? Any update po?
Wala pa. Bali yung sa last week lang. Then, yung Presscon lang today. Yun pa lang. Letter from the Senate?
I guess yung timeline po na ni-release ni Ed.
Hindi, teka lang. Ano yung tanong? Balik natin. Ako, may na-receive? Yung nakikita ko lang online, pero hindi ko alam as per the house kung nagpa-receive na sila ng letter dito. Pero ano naman official naman na communication yun. So, it's public record. So, yung chronological na calendar niya, yung January, yung ganon, nakita ko na rin siya. June.
Sir, sinabi po nung kapatid ni VP Sara Duterte na si Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte sa kanyang podcast na yung impeachment trial ay distraction lang, isang panlilihis umano po para ilayo yung attention daw ng publiko sa controversy po nung budget ng 2025 GAA. Tinawag din po niya itong panic response ng Administrasyong Marcos sa lumalakas na criticism daw po tungkol sa pondo.
Likewise, distraction din yung ginagawa nila. Kasi nga, hindi pa rin nila nasasagot si Mary Grace Piatos. So, hanap-hanap distraction, hanap-hanap diversion para hindi pag-usapan. Adi, dumidiskarte pa rin sila.
Kung Geraldine, if you wanna comment on that?
To my knowledge, yung issue ng impeachment came first before the issue of the GAA. And I think malino naman, nagsalita ng ating mga Committee on Appropriations and everything. There's a perfect explanation to how the GAA was crafted, how it was signed into law. So I think there is a pending complaint case at the SC, Supreme Court. So let's wait for that.
Sa katuad lang, nakikita naman po natin na meron po tayong may Quadcom, may Goodcom. So, this is all an inquiry. Meron pong mga naipresenta. Meron pong halos konkreto na mga ebidensya na nandyan as compared to theatrics and distractions na ginagawa nila. Ang layo po ng diferensya nun. Kitang-kita po ng taong bayan kasi on record lahat. We were live. We were open to the public as compared yung hindi naman nagsasalita, bigla na lang magsasalita ng ganyan. So, theatrics lang talaga yan. Diversion.
Kung Geraldine, you mentioned, kanina po about yung forthwith equals immediately and very clear po yun sa Constitution, and some lawyers na nag-file na rin po nung naunang impeachment complaints were saying na maybe there is a culpable violation of the Constitution, yung ginagawa pong pag-delay ng mga senador dito po sa pag-convene and pag-proceed po sa impeachment trial. What's your comment on that?
Katulad nga na sinabi ko, kahit anong dictionary ang konsultahin ko, forthwith means immediately, And I think the choice of the word forthwith is basically what they normally do when they write the Constitution, the fundamental law of the land. Use normally literary and highfalutin words, So, maybe it was selective interpretation. Ito lang naman ako, Maybe it was his political strategy. Kasi nga, if we go on with impeachment case at this point, baka yung mga tumatakbong senador ay maapektuhan. Because the fact of the matter is that the impeachment case has become an election issue. And I don't know. Politician din naman ako, I would understand, But then again, who would admit that? But I have this gut feeling. But nevertheless, I still hold on to my hope that our friends in the Senate, led by SP Jesus Codero, would reconsider and be more, I don't know, how should I say it, mas gampanan nila ang kanilang trabaho na igalang, i-uphold ang what is stated clearly in the Constitution.
Kuya Ray, isunod ko lang.
Okay ka na? Okay na si Marian?
Siya na po.
Okay, sige. Rosalica from UNTV, go ahead with your questions.
Apo, bago po yung issue ko po, idugtong ko lang po sa impeachment kasi ang isang constitutional framer po, si Attorney Christian Monsod, challenge na po yung ihayag sa publiko kung sino ba tong mga senador na to na hindi interesado sa caucus para mapag-usapan ano ba ang magiging aksyon ng Senado dito sa usapin ng forthwith. Kasi pag pinangalanan sa publiko itong mga senador na to na hindi interesado sa caucus, po pwede silang masampahan ng kaso na paglabag sa saligang batas at ma-disqualify sa eleksyon. What is your comment on that? Do you agree? At kailangan ba talagang pangalanan tong mga senador na to na re-electionist, tumatakbo sa eleksyon para po makasuhan?
Ako, this has been my consistent statement from the start. Sabi ko nga, number one, it's a leadership call. Number one. Pero yung sa tipong pangalanan, isa-isahin, matatanda na po sila, alam na nila yun. Ang pangalawa po, leadership call is also a call to action. So, kung may call to action ka, you have a responsibility. At may responsibility po tayo sa taong bayan. Yun lang po yung comment ko doon.
Okay po.
Okay, so hindi lang pala ako ang minararamdaman na something in that line, no, that's related to politics and being strategic about it and not wanting this issue to become an electoral issue that could actually tip the balance against my political interests. But I also agree with Kong Paolo that it is a leadership call. More than just the individual senators, I think it should be the Senate leadership who should set the line of direction, diba, where they're headed. And as I said, I think the only acceptable direction is the direction of the Constitution, which is very clear about when and how this impeachment complaint should be processed.
So kayo po, Congresswoman Roman, naniniwala na may paglabag Senate President Chis Escudero sa konstitusyon dahil yun nga po, sa usapin ng forthwith shall proceed after po ma-endorse yung articles of impeachment sa Senado?
At this point, it will be difficult to say kung meron talagang intentional or I don't know, violation. Parang harsh naman kaagad to come at that judgment, you know. Our dear friend, Senator Jesus Cordero, is a brilliant lawyer and he does his own studying. We may differ in our opinions, but still, yun na nga, umaasa pa rin kami from the House of Representatives for maybe a different interpretation. Anyway, they came up with a special order, nakasaad na nga yung calendar nila. Sa aming panlasa, sana nga mas maaga, no? Pero katulad nga na sinabi ko, baka may mga practical considerations that come into place. Ako lang naman to, baka personal opinion, yung aking intuition. But I'm not saying it's true. I can't read people's minds, basically. So, mawala ng lahat, wag lang ang pakiramdam, pero nandiyan pa rin ang pag-asa. Mawala rin lahat, wag lang ang pag-asa na pakikinggan nila ang aming suggestion.
Sige, thank you po. Mag-shift lang po ako sa another topic kasi po si TML Ortega, meron po kayong nirelease na statement this morning saying Palawan is at risk if China-funded candidates will win the elections. Can you elaborate and what made you say so po?
Nakita po natin na ang dami na namang kumakalat na nagsasalita na sinasabi na naman nila, they're claiming na pagmamayari na naman nila yung Palawan. Naku, isa na yan sa pinakamalaking fake news sa araw na to. So, nakakalungkot. That's why, sabi ko nga po dun sa stand natin na hindi pwede naman na hindi pro-Pilipinas yung mga iboboto natin na senador. Kailangan yung malasakit saka yung dedikasyon nila para sa bansa. Napakaklaro naman po yan. Kaya yung mga medyo tikom dyan, alam na this, hindi sila pro-Pilipinas. Kailangan ko pa ba sabihin kung kanino sila pro? Diba?